Okay, the goal here is simple. I want to get you to your next consistent 20K a month revenue in your coaching and online education business. On your way to a real deal $1 million business. I kind of hate saying that stuff, but whatever your vision is for your business. And I know it's possible because I've done it. I've helped a bunch of business owners do it. And here's the other thing, the creator economy, it's up to 250 billion in 2026. This thing is growing, and I want you to do it without the soul-sucking, calendar-crushing overwhelm so that you have the freedom to actually build the life you want. And that's why we got into this, right? But to do that, we first have to look at this massive shift that just happened in the online space. It's completely rewriting the rules of how creators scale. And that's what this 5-part series is about. The exact playbook of how I left corporate, how I built my business from 0 to 6 to 7 figures, all with one simple system called the Business Builder Growth Plan. And it solves for the 3 biggest problems that hold coaches and creators like you and I back. Number 1, nailing your niche. Number 2, a clear path to consistent ideal clients. And number 3, a scalable delivery model that actually works. Because most creators teach how to make more money online. And these screaming gurus, they actually have strategies that burn you out, box you in, and slowly kill the freedom that you started all this for in the first place. So I didn't leave corporate just to rebuild a digital version of it. I do this differently. And what I teach is how not to rebuild the thing you escaped. Because to me, freedom is not being your own boss. Freedom is actually having choice. And you don't have choice if your calendar is maxed out, your profit margin is paper thin, and you're always stressed out. Plus, a lot of these yelling gurus, they don't actually have credibility beyond being loud and good at marketing. But I've coached over 1,000 people with my team of 12, including entrepreneurs, mid-sized business owners, CEOs of Inc. 5000, even Fortune 500 executives. So I know how to get you where you want to go. But here's the thing, it's not just about money to me. What I'm all about is building a business that actually facilitates the life that you want. So for me, that looks like even simple things like taking a walk in the middle of a day because it's really nice and sunny out and not having to justify it to anyone. Or like sitting in a new coffee shop with my laptop open, creating something that I'm really excited about, but without feeling so rushed. And look, I don't think business is the only place we find fulfillment either. I just know that work is a huge part of our lives. We spend most of our waking hours working. So if that part feels off, then everything else feels off. I really believe we're built for purpose. And so work is one of the main places that shows up. So here we go. We need to look at how people are building coaching businesses right now, because there's one major problem that just hit the online space. Most coaches are still using a low trust model in a market that has shifted back to high trust buying. And so what that means is they just push harder and they build more funnels and more urgency tactics, and they book more sales calls expecting different results. But then it's killing their time and their work life because they need a model that's built for trust. So let me explain. I'm gonna give you like a brief history of the online coaching space. So in the past 15 years, scaling an online coaching business kind of followed the same pattern. It was like get attention, push people to a sale, repeat. And in the late 2000s, email marketing started blowing up. So you had people like Jeff Walker. He popularized the idea of turning the typical high trust sales in-person conversation into an email launch sequence. And this worked because ads were so cheap that you could just build a giant list with a simple lead magnet. But then in the 2010s, people started building off of this idea and splitting into different corners of the internet. So around 2014, you had entrepreneurs like Russell Brunson, Ryan Deiss, and they were making online launches into this evergreen webinar thing. And that became mainstream for coaches. So this worked well because online education was new and exciting. Plus, solopreneurs like you and I, we can now automate with platforms like ClickFunnels and Facebook ads. So this is the point where I came in to the game with Greenhouse Coaching. And my vision was actually something different. I wanted to scale online so that I could have super high profit margins and design these like life-changing, unforgettable retreat experiences. So people would go, they would have so much clarity, they would have a lot of fun, meet some new friends. And I wanted to scale for that reason. So I learned from people like Stu McLaren, Amy Porterfield, Seth Godin, and I thought that they were bringing a level of sophistication to the game with digital courses, with memberships, kind of creating a tribe of true fans with an element of community involved. All right, so this evolution, it took the email and webinar funnel thing and turned it into a video sequence. So they would use paid Facebook ads to get people to view a series of videos and then sell them into their program. Problem was, the whole idea was way too rushed. You're asking people to make this multi-$1,000 investment without actually getting to know you and your approach yet. So it kind of felt like the sales guy I met with the other day. And he wanted to chat, and he did that thing where he kind of hooked me like, oh, I just want to catch up and chat. And then after 2 questions, he like turned the whole conversation and started pitching me. It was so frustrating and it was such a turnoff. And that's what these funnels always feel like. And it worked because you could create this huge audience with cheap ads. So you could get tens of thousands of people, and like 1 out of every 10,000 would be so desperate they'd be willing to buy right on the spot. But the problem we all realized is that even those 1 out of 10,000 clients, they weren't the right clients. And then around 2020, this started morphing into the VSL era. So it's basically the same idea. Maybe you've run them before, but people were getting tired of like the countdown timers and the urgency tactics, all these insane promises about like, ooh, I have the secret answers. So to combat that skepticism, VSL culture just added in sales calls into the funnel. And it seemed like the right fix because now you had a chance to talk to people and build some trust. Only problem is you only really had like 2 or 3 touch points before that sales call. So as a result, the sales call had to be super high pressure. It had to have all of these kind of tactics so the person wouldn't walk away. This whole system, you get the idea, it was just stuck. Like you had to pack out your calendar with sales calls or hire people to do it, which has a whole set of other problems. And then the worst part is these great leads who wanted to probably work with you, they didn't immediately buy, and so then you lose them forever. So this sales call problem, it's the exact microcosm of the entire problem that's been simmering from 2008 until now. And the problem that's kind of boiling over, foam spilling out everywhere, fire alarms going off because of one thing: low trust. The funnels of the last 15 years rushed people to make huge decisions before they were ready. And so they worked for a time, but the bubble has burst. And now people only buy from people that they know and trust. In fact, this new era, it's all about pre-buying, where people quietly watch and they decide who to work with before ever having a conversation. Which means in 2026, you need free content. This is your trust building mechanism. And you need it in a system that keeps people in your ecosystem so they can spend more and more time with your content until they're ready to work with you. It's kind of like Google Maps. If you like pinch your fingers and zoom out from street view to city view, all the way out to earth view, you see the buyer's journey has always worked the same way. We simply went from the original like high trust, long game, in-person sales down to this low trust, short game funnel that worked for a little bit of time. And now we're shifting back to that high trust long game again. But this time the difference is we have social media, which can scale trust way more than in-person sales. And so this is an incredibly great news for coaches because it means you don't need a giant audience. You can have a highly profitable business that even funds the lifestyle you want with a small audience of true fans. But most coaches are still stuck in the old way, wondering why it feels so hard and why results are so inconsistent, why they're burned out trading their time for money, doing complex funnels with a bunch of sales calls, and then one-on-one coaching that packs their calendar out. So let me ask you this. Does that system actually create the life that you want? For me, the answer is no. It requires way too much money, way too much time, and it's way too little return. But the principles, they still work. Like they're just too compressed. So instead of funnels, we use cycles. The difference is simple. Funnels are very short term, cycles are long term. So a funnel, it will lose people in a few days. They get in there, they click through. If you don't book them, they're gone. But a cycle, it keeps people in your ecosystem for months, even years. And I've had people book with me who started following me years ago and who started following me months ago. So the trust builds, and when people are ready, then they choose you. It's perfect if you're a genuine coach who values being authentic because you're not forcing the conversation. And this is only gonna get more and more important because as AI floods the internet, content's becoming this infinite game where trust is gonna be the most valuable currency. People are gonna get tired of the fake and the contrived. And information is free. So people don't need to pay for info anymore. What they want is somebody they can trust. AI can give you all the answers, but what people want is to know who they can go to, who they're trying to aspire to be like. That's where we are. And this series is gonna give you the exact how, but if you just want the tricks and tactics, I am not your guy. If you're hungry for more of a sustainable system, one that's gonna outlive all the constant changing trends, then I'm definitely your guy. Because I believe you don't need to work harder, you just need a cleaner system. And I believe growth should feel grounded and human and intentional. And that's why I teach life-aligned, trust-first scale. So your business can support the life that you want instead of consuming it. So go ahead and subscribe and sign up for the email mini course in the description. That way you're not gonna miss any of these videos. They'll go to your inbox over the next 5 days. And here is the first video in the series. So go ahead and enjoy. Cheers.